Hello and welcome to today's webinar on how Nest can help you meet client demand for auto-enrolment. You'll be hearing from me, Jerome Smale, editor of Payroll World, and our guest speaker, Paul Budgeon from Nest. Paul is a pension professional with over 20 years of experience with leading providers of workplace pension schemes. With expertise in strategy, business development, marketing and product design, he works collaboratively with employers, members, their intermediaries and trustees to deliver great member outcomes. Our aim today is to demonstrate to you how Nest will support you and your business to help your clients. We'll talk to you about some of the challenges you might face when it comes to getting involved with auto-enrolment. We'll look at where you can add value for your clients and how you can use Nest. Finally, we'll take a look at how accountants are already using Nest and then tackle your questions. If you have any questions during this webinar, please submit them by clicking on the question tab at the top of your screen and I'll read them out live. We'll also be asking a number of poll questions throughout the webinar, so please vote when they appear on your screen. For both the questions and the polls, please remember to close the window to return to the main slides. You'll see what I mean once we get going. So, let's kick off with the first of three poll questions we have for you. The first poll question is, are you ready for the client demand for auto-enrolment? So you'll see the options come up on your screen. So if you answer yes or no. Okay, so there's quite a few no's there. So hopefully this will help you prepare. So now let's look at the auto-enrolment challenges. We understand that accountants and payroll professionals are being asked for help, but many are uncomfortable with auto-enrolment. Paul, why is this?
Thanks very much, Joan. Well, many are uncomfortable with auto-enrolment for some very valid reasons. These being, firstly, number one, knowledge. How much do you know? Auto-enrolment can be complicated. It may seem daunting to consider offering support for something that you don't fully understand. Number two, regulated activity. How far can you go? It can be hard to know where the line is between regulated and non-regulated activity when it comes to helping clients with auto-enrolment. For example, at what point do you risk straying into financial advice? Number three, difficulty. How hard is it? You'll need to work out what your options are and what you need to do to offer the kind of services your clients are asking for. There are different kinds of support you can provide, so you'll need to decide what could work for you to help build relationships with your clients. And finally, number four, value. Is it worth it? You'll need to think about the time, effort and resources you will need to put in place and whether this will add value to your clients and your business. You'll need to consider the opportunity cost as well, i.e. what happens by not offering an automatic enrolment service and what that means.
Thank you, Paul. We'll address these concerns as we go in this webinar to help you better understand how you might be able to make the most of auto-enrolment. At this point, Paul, I think it would be helpful if you could give us a quick summary of what Nest is all about.
Absolutely. Nest was built specifically to help employers with auto-enrolment. We are run by a board of trustees who operate at arm's length from government. Nest's core objectives are to offer a high quality yet low cost scheme at scale. In order to achieve that, we are a digital online scheme open for everyone, 24/7, 365 days of the year. At our core is our governance culture, whereby we challenge ourselves that everything we do is run in the best interests of our members. By doing this, we're confident we can achieve good member outcomes.
So what does that mean for employers and their business advisors?
Nest makes no charge to employers or their business advisors for using Nest. Our member charges are well below the value for money cap set by the government, and they're the same for all members. Within auto-enrolment, there are a number of hurdles an employer needs to overcome, and Nest can help with those. Here, on the bottom row, I've highlighted three. Those are opt-outs, default fund investments, and where can I get help? Looking at opt-outs first, this is a tightrope for any employer, which, as you probably know, can be tricky. Nest helps with that. Every worker enrolled into the scheme will receive a pack in the post welcoming them to Nest, explaining what the scheme is about, and for those with opt-out rights, we'll give them details of how they can do this. Every qualifying workplace pension scheme has to have a default investment fund, and the Nest trustees take responsibility for ours. We operate a multi-asset, diversified fund within a risk framework at low cost. We act as a professional buyer of funds from the market to ensure we can deliver against our objectives. Members can be reassured we have no conflicts of interest. The performance of our default fund will help ensure good outcomes for members. And as a professional supporting them with auto-enrolment, you can have confidence in our capability to manage money. There are two areas you can get help from to run your Nest account. Firstly, we work seamlessly with Payroll software. A lot of employer duties are best met using data stored in Payroll. For example, the data needed to perform a worker assessment or produce statutory communications are usually held within Payroll. And most payroll software providers have auto-enrolment functions using standard Nest formats for making contributions. It's well worth talking to your payroll service provider to understand what their kit can and, more importantly, what it cannot do for you. As of October 2015, we delivered Nest Web Services to the market, which, if adopted by your payroll software provider, will enable you to submit data automatically into the Nest scheme. Once again, it's well worth checking with your payroll provider whether they have adopted Nest Web Services. Lastly, we have an online hub called Nest Connect, which enables a business advisor, such as an accountant, payroll professional or a financial advisor, to set themselves up on the Nest system. And this will enable them to create and run Nest employer accounts on behalf of their clients.
Thanks, Paul. So, bringing this all together, how would it work for a typical employer journey?
Here, you can see we've mapped out the 6 stages that a typical employer will need to undergo. It's very important to understand what needs to happen, how and who is going to do it. Once ready, you can then put into action your project plan and set the scheme up, complete the day-to-day administration and ensure compliance with the regulations. Don't forget, 5 months after the employer staging date, the employer or their business advisor on their behalf needs to have registered with the pensions regulator to confirm their compliance.
So, where can payroll bureau and accountants add value for their clients?
Well, here we've broken down the 6 key stages into 2 parts. First, helping your clients get ready, and then what you can do to help them. To help your clients prepare, you'll need to address the first of our challenges: how much do you know about auto-enrolment? It's well worth looking at the Pensions Regulator's website to get up to speed with their easy-to-read guides on employer duties. We've also got lots of resources on our website, including a form to help with the setting up of an employer scheme. That form is called Information You Need to Set Up Nest. It helps you capture all the relevant information you need, as well as teasing out the answers to questions which may not have been obvious. For example, when is your pay period? What is your contribution level? And what salary is it based on? From a planning perspective, it's also useful to understand whether or not an employer intends to run a postponement period. By pulling all these things together, you can really help your clients get ready.
So, Paul, how can payroll bureau and accountants help their clients meet their duties?
Well, this is the second challenge we mentioned. How far can I go in offering support? The services you offer to your clients is a matter between you and them. We've seen examples where firms have offered to set up Nest and then hand it back, or firms that just want to do the day-to-day administration, or firms that want to offer both. You are best placed to run your business. You understand your clients, you understand your knowledge and skill set and how best you meet that client demand. What services you offer and how much you charge is a function of the market. Our online portal Nest Connect enables you to offer all or some of those services.
Something we often get asked is, how can a non-regulated business advisor help their clients with the selection of a qualifying workplace pension scheme?
This is a really interesting question, and I do understand why people ask it. We need to take a step back and put this into context. The law of the land has changed. Every employer must enrol eligible workers into a qualifying workplace pension scheme. In order to help that process, the regulator has made it very clear that an accountant or payroll professional can help their clients by giving factual information about different schemes. This is not a regulated activity. You can even recommend a scheme that you believe meets an employer's needs and circumstances if you have the right knowledge and experience. But take care and do not stray into giving individual investment advice. Now, before I get into the details of how you can help support your clients, Jerome, let's take a look at our second poll question.
Yes, let's take a look at this next poll. The question is, what's the biggest issue you'll face from clients in relation to auto-enrolment? You'll see various options pop up on your screen now. So your options are incorporating the appropriate systems and processes, worker assessment and contribution payment built into every payroll run, payroll integration between payroll provider and pension provider, time and cost allocation for efficient solution, or other reason. So if you choose your option now, and can see the results there. There's a significant amount for 33% in fact for payroll integration. So this brings us to a solution to our third challenge. How hard is it to offer support, Paul?
Since Nest was established, we have worked with many payroll providers to help them understand our requirements. As a result, most payroll software packages are capable of producing output files for new members and contributions that can be uploaded into the Nest scheme without any problems. We've continued that good work with payroll providers and developed a new way in which data can be sent from payroll to ourselves. Most payrolls can already send data, known as RTI, to HMRC via a link from within their payroll package. We have used exactly the same idea and made this available to payroll software developers. This is called Nest Web Services, and it's changing the face of payroll integration for pensions. This innovation simplifies the exchange of information between Nest and the employer's payroll by enabling payroll software to talk directly to Nest. That means employers can manage Nest through their payroll software, which helps them to meet their day-to-day auto-enrolment duties. Our web services allows payroll to both send data to Nest, new members and contributions data, and also to retrieve data from Nest, such as opt-outs and the status of contribution schedules. It is also possible to set up a new employer account via these links. In total, there are 9 different links to Nest. The technical name for each of them is API, covering the full range of different functions you need to administer a Nest employer account. You can see a full list of the APIs on screen now. The Nest Web Services solution allows payroll software providers to choose which of the 9 links they want to make available through their software. By eliminating the need for you to upload files to Nest, this will save you time and administration effort for employers and the people who deal with their payroll on their behalf. Where a payroll software provider chooses to add these links to their software, it should also help to reduce errors as data is transferred electronically from payroll to the pension provider without the need for anyone to handle it.
So what payroll providers and other organisations are ready to offer your web service functionality, Paul?
Several payroll providers and other organisations are ready, including Sage, Iris, Moneysoft, QTAC, BrightPay, Dataplan Payroll, Enroll Pay Limited, Miracle Dynamic Solutions, PayCircle Easy Enroll and System Sync. We are talking to a number of others about adding Nest Web Services to their payroll software, with many busy working behind the scenes to get this up and running. Check with your payroll provider when they'll start offering Nest Web Services integration and whether they'll make some or all of our 9 different web services available to their clients. While Nest has made a number of changes, there is a question as to whether employers would want to undertake this work for themselves. We speak to lots of employers who ask their accountants, their payroll bureau, bookkeeper, their IFA or even a specialist third-party administrator to do some or all of it for them. Nest Connect has been designed to make this as straightforward as possible to do.
Thanks, Paul. So tell us more about Nest Connect.
Another way we're making auto-enrolment easier for you is with Nest Connect, our online hub for professionals. It's both free and a simple way for you to provide auto-enrolment services to your clients. With Nest Connect, you can provide a complete service to any employer, from setting up the employer's account as well as ongoing maintenance. We have spoken to some third parties who set the arrangement up for the employer and then help them manage the account. If they don't want to offer this ongoing service, they may agree with the employer that they keep an eye on what the employer is doing to make sure it's all going to plan. This is easy to do as a Nest connector. You can log on to your employer's account and see what the current status is. You can choose how much support you want to provide to each client. A great feature of Nest Connect is that you log on to your Nest Connect account and you can view and manage all of your client employer accounts in one place. So you don't need to log into each client's separate account every time you need to work on it. You can also add as many people as you need from your organisation to help you manage client accounts. For each person, you determine which employer accounts they are allowed to work on. You can edit the employer account list at any time, and you can also add other people from your organisation and remove people as they leave. You are in total control of your account. You can find a webinar on our website that provides a full demonstration on how Nest Connect works. Already, over 7,800 different organisations have set themselves up as Nest Connectors. When we speak to people who are using it, they tell us how helpful and important Nest Connect is to enable them to look after their clients.
Thanks, Paul. So can you provide an example?
Sure. An example of that is Anna from Harper Morris. This goes to some way to answering our fourth challenge: is it worth getting involved in auto-enrolment? You can see from her quote that the flexibility and simplicity of Nest Connect has enabled her payroll business to offer cost-effective services. You can read more about Anna by visiting our website on the link displayed on the screen. There, you'll also find video interviews with other professionals using Nest Connect for their clients. I hope I've so far been able to demonstrate how you can use Nest. While Nest works either direct from the employer or through a third party, this gives you the choice of how much or how little you want to do for your clients. You don't even need to offer the same level of service to each client. Nest Connect is that flexible.
So how can our viewers find out more about Nest Connect?
There's a lot of information about Nest Connect and how Nest Connect works on our website, so you can do your research whenever it suits you. And if you have questions, then, again, there's lots of help on our website. Thousands of people have already set up a Nest account, and we have tried to make sure we've learnt from their experience by continually improving the website and the way Nest works.
So Paul, can you give us an update on your latest figures?
Absolutely. Nest was open for business in October 2012. So how have we done? What does our report card tell us? Currently, around 70,000 employers are signed up to Nest. We have 2.9 million members, and we're looking after around £786 million of funds on behalf of our members. And as we said earlier, there are over 7,800 Nest connectors who are helping employers use Nest.
So going back to the auto-enrolment challenges you mentioned at the start, can you put some solutions against them now?
Yes. First up, number one, knowledge. How much do you know? Well, hopefully you know a bit more following this webinar. Nest also has a range of plain English guides and communications to help explain auto-enrolment to you as well as employers and their workers. You can find them all on our website. Looking at point number two, regulated activity, how far can you go? We've explained that you don't need to be regulated to help clients find a scheme that suits their organisation as long as you use factual information and don't offer individual financial advice. We've also outlined the different levels of service you can offer, from setting up their scheme and handing it back to manage everything for them. Number three, difficulty. How hard is it? We've shown you how Nest Web Services for payroll integration offers a seamless way to manage Nest through a payroll package. We've talked about how our online hub, Nest Connect, makes it easy for you to take on scheme administration tasks for clients and manage them all under one account. And lastly, number four, value. Is it worth it? With free functionality like our Nest Web Services and Nest Connect, you can carry out auto-enrolment support at no cost to you from Nest. This helps you keep your auto-enrolment proposition competitively priced for your clients and help you build long-lasting relationships with them that meet their needs.
Thanks, Paul. Now, before Paul tackles some of your questions, let's go to our final poll question. So, do you feel more ready to meet client demand for auto-enrolment now you've watched this webinar? So your options are obviously yes or no. So please vote now. Okay, votes coming in. There we are. Well, that's good to see. That's 86% of you say yes, so that's very encouraging. So the questions have been coming in thick and fast, so now we'll answer those for you. I'll read them out and Paul will answer. Turning to the questions. So, number one, is Nest Connect the same as Nest Web Services, Paul?
That's a good question, and the easy answer is no. Nest Connect is our online hub that helps third parties take on pension scheme administration for an employer client, whereas Nest Web Services is our way of exchanging data with payroll providers. You'll need an account and login for Nest Connect, but Nest Web Services will work through your client's payroll software.
Got another question coming here. How much advice can payroll providers provide without giving financial advice?
A really good question. You're able to make a recommendation on the choice of qualifying workplace pension scheme provider. However, individual investment advice, for example to an individual worker, is a regulated activity by the Financial Conduct Authority, and unless you're regulated by them, you'll need to focus on discussing factual information about Nest.
Here's another question from somebody who says, I've just set up a Nest pension scheme for an employer. Where do I find all the Nest details to input onto the payroll system?
That's an interesting one. So if you log on into the employer's Nest account, you can see all the details you need to manage under Manage Groups and Manage Payment Sources on your Nest home screen.
Okay, we have another question here. Will Nest be introducing a traditional direct debit rather than having to enter each client's account to click the Pay Now button? And if not, why not?
That's an interesting one. I'll answer this question this way. The way that Nest collects contributions is on a direct debit instruction rather than mandate. So this very much gives control to the employer or their third party if they're administering the employer account on their behalf, whereby they press the button to say that the contributions are correct. We then collect that amount from the employer's bank account and pay contributions into members' pots. Now, this is the most efficient way for collecting contributions, as if you have refunds from opt-outs, it closes that window down considerably from having to make those refunds. So, as you know, from experience, our best working practice is to use direct debit instruction rather than the kind of traditional direct debit mandate, because this reduces the risk of having to administer a refund.
Thanks, Paul. I have another question here. Can an employer transfer from another provider to Nest after their staging date?
Yeah, this is a really good question. Any employer can stop using one pension scheme and start using Nest for auto-enrolment. However, any workers enrolled in another pension scheme won't be able to transfer the value of their pots to Nest until April 2017. Until then, Nest can only take transfers from other pension schemes under special circumstances. For example, as part of a pension sharing order through divorce.
Right, we've got lots of questions here. I think we've got time for a few more. So here's one. Can an employer commence before the staging date? If so, what is the procedure?
This is a really good question, and one we get asked all the time. An employer can set up a scheme before their staging date, but the process is not as straightforward. You have to bring your staging date forward, and you need to get authorisation from the pensions regulator, and you need authorisation from the receiving pension scheme that that's okay to do. It's a fairly simple process. There's a couple of forms you need to complete, but it's very straightforward. There's no criteria. You request it, it gets confirmed. You can then proceed with it.
Right. Thanks, Paul. Here's another one. When setting up Nest, can I accept terms and conditions on behalf of an employer if they tell me I can? For example, by email.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So, just to recap for everyone on the call, when you're setting up an employer account within Nest, you just check the box to say that you have read and accepted our terms and conditions. So we don't operate like a more traditional insurance company that would have a paper form and which you'd have to have a wet signature. You just check the box. Now the question was, can someone do it on behalf of the employer? The easy answer is no. The employer terms and conditions is a contract between us and the employer, so they must read and agree to them, not a third party.
Okay, just having a look at some of the other questions that have been sent in. There's quite a few here. So here's one. What is the main role of the accountant to their client according to Nest?
That's an interesting one, and I don't like to answer a question with another question, but I will do in this instance. You tell me. So I think this is a question best answered by where do you add value to your client and how they are being compliant with auto-enrolment. And to answer this question, I would say very much, have a look at what your client is asking you to do. Have a look at what your skill set is, what your knowledge is, and what you can do for them. And somewhere in there is what you can do for your client. As far as the relationship between you and your client, that's a private matter. That's a service agreement you have between each other. It's got nothing to do with Nest, what services you are or not doing, and how much you charge for it. It's very much a private arrangement between you and the client. It's got nothing to do with Nest.
Thanks, Paul. I think we've got time for a couple more questions. Here's the next one. What are the methods to inform Nest about someone opting out?
A really good question. So as we said in the presentation, every member who enrolls into Nest and has opt-out rights will receive a pack in the post. It's one of the few bits of paper you do get from Nest, but you get a pack in the post welcoming you to Nest with a little brochure telling you what your username is, etc. And on the back of that letter, we'll give you your opt-out options. Now, there are 3 opt-out options. You can opt out online, you can opt out via the telephone, or you can opt out via paper. Now, you have to telephone us and get the paper. That piece of paper will be barcoded and be sent to you. It's sent to the member, they sign it, they have to submit it to their employer, who will then inform us that they've opted out. The other 2 methods, online and by telephone, we will update our system and we will inform the employer that the member has opted out. From experience, 99.99% of people opt out online or via the telephone, and the split between that is 49-51, and I can never remember which one is which, but it's a fairly even split.
Right, okay. Should we take another question?
Yep.
Okay, here's one. How do I find out how to set up Nest web services?
Really, really good question, and we do get asked this a lot. You know, you really do need to talk to your payroll software provider, as they need to set it up for you at their end. It's one of those things, with automatic enrolment, you have to weave it into the payroll process. Pick up the phone to your relationship manager or get online to their call centre and ask them what it is that they're doing.
Okay, here's one more question. We have staff whose pay varies from month to month. How should we decide who should be auto-enrolled?
Really good question. Well, when you run the worker assessment, it's the outputs of that process that will determine which category each worker belongs to. So that's just part of the normal day-to-day process within auto-enrolment.
Right, thanks, Paul. And thanks everybody for sending through all your questions. Paul, any final thoughts?
Yes. We are a digital scheme. If you'd like to know more about Nest or follow what we're up to, please look at our website and follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Please keep sending in your questions as well. They're always good and interesting to answer. But apart from that, that's all from me. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Paul. For all of the questions that have been sent through that unfortunately we haven't been able to answer due to time today, we'll pass those on to Paul and the team at Nest, who will get back to you. So that's all we have time for. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening today. Feedback is important to us, so please do rate this webinar via the feedback panel, which can be accessed at the top of your page. Big thanks to Paul for the insight into meeting client demand for auto-enrolment, and we wish you a very good afternoon. Thank you very much.